to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today, Sunday, the 24th of September, doing a post-match review bright and early on Sunday morning. Also, a couple of wee bits of Celtic news to update you on today as well. Before we crack on with the post-match review of Celtic's victory against Livingston 3-0 yesterday at the Tony Macaroni stadium in Livingston, please do remember to click the subscribe button and tick the like button as well. Completely free of charge, no obligation, but does help the channel get bigger and bigger, get the coverage and deliverance of these videos to more and more people, and spreads the good word of what a brilliant club Celtic is and what a privilege it is for us all to support Celtic. Now, did a brief live stream post-match review just after the game finished yesterday afternoon, and today's is a slightly more considered review with the benefit of having watched the highlights, watched the clips on YouTube and on the TV, and I also read quite a few different articles and from pundits, fans, fan sites, and YouTube channels. First of all, I think Celtic faced quite a difficult match. Traditionally, Celtic have had some difficulties going to the artificial pitches in Livingston and Kilmarnock. Brendan Rodgers had a previously quite poor record against Livingston in his first spell at the club, and I think yesterday Celtic passed the test, and I think to sum it up, it was M.O.T. Maeda, O'Riley and Taylor. For me, they were Celtic's three best players. Also, I think a special mention for Gustav Lagerbielke. I think he has got better and better and better with each game. I didn't personally see him make any actual mistakes. There were a few mistakes in the first half. I think Celtic struggled with coping with the ball running through from a distance with the artificial pitch. Sometimes the ball kicking on, sometimes the ball holding up. And I think that was a factor quite often as to why Scales got beaten over the top. Livingston getting players in behind, which of course was quite critical towards Joe Hart's red card. He has been full of apologies to his manager, teammates, and the fans. And I think it was, in retrospect, a pretty reckless challenge. I think that Scales, Lagerbielke, Johnston, Taylor were all covering back. That had Hart stayed in his 6-yard box, the defenders would have been able to push the striker further out. I don't think it would actually have been a threat. In the end, I think Hart actually was beaten by the bounce of the ball. The Livingston player got there first, flicked the ball past Hart, and the collision between the two was inevitable. The challenge from the Livingston player was fairly high also, and was one of several challenges in the game, which were 50-50s, and John Beaton each time favoured the Livingston player in those challenges. I think especially having watched again a few times Liam Scales' yellow card in the first half, I have absolutely no idea why that was given as a foul by Scales and a yellow card by Scales. because the Livingston player was clearly off his feet, lunging in from a distance, totally out of control, and basically took Scales out. However, John Beaton yellow carded him, ignored a pretty horrendous foul by Livingston in the first half, which a few seconds later turned into a booking for Alistair Johnson when he made little, if any, contact on the Livingston player. However, those things are all things of the past. Nothing we can do to change refereeing decisions. Nothing we can do to change those yellow cards. And a red card and 1 match suspension is inevitable for Joe Hart. I can't see the red card being upgraded in any way, and I certainly hope not, because I have a lot of fears of Scott Bain being in goals against Motherwell in our next game, and I personally would prefer to see Siegrist in goal rather than Bain, as I got rather nervous seeing the ball going anywhere near Scott Bain. Seemed pretty clueless in terms of knowing which ball to come for which ball to leave for the defenders. There were several mix-ups, and he also is really shaky with the ball at his feet. And 9 times out of 10, I was shouting for him just to kick the ball up the other end of the pitch, and so at least Celtic could get things reorganised. Obviously, in the first 30 minutes before the red card, Celtic miles on top. I thought, particularly in that 30 minutes, Greg Taylor was immense. He, when the stats were fully analysed for the whole match, had the most touches, had an excellent success rate for tackles and passes. He was a key factor in setting up the pass to Hatate into the box when he was pulled down for a Stonewall penalty, which he managed then to squeeze underneath the Livingston goalkeeper's body. And I do wish that Celtic had the option, as in American football, of bringing on your field goal kicker just to take field goals. And I think in that case, having David Turnbull on the bench to come on, take a penalty kick, then go back onto the bench for the rest of the game is always going to be a good option, but that's not possible in football. The game obviously did change quite dramatically with Hart's red card. I thought Celtic reorganised themselves very well. Some pundits and YouTube experts have been calling Brendan Rodgers a genius for the way that he reorganised the Celtic team. It made a lot of sense personally to have Kyogo and Maeda working together up front, trying to go in behind the Livingston defence, drawing the defenders out to the sides, coming back, and particularly Maeda was absolutely immense, tracking up and down the left side, but also covering and challenging and hassling the goalkeeper, the defenders, stopping Livingston getting the ball out. And I was actually amazed that Dyson Maeda was giving it 150% from minute 1 to minute 95, and of course he scored that absolutely brilliant goal. Men of the match for me, as I said earlier, were Maeda O'Riley, Dyson Maeda and Greg Taylor. I think Greg Taylor's had a lot of unfair criticism so far this season. I think, as was the case when Ange Postecoglou came in, Greg Taylor initially struggled a wee bit to get used to the new system. It looks like now that Rodgers is going, in terms of tactics and use of Taylor, of having Taylor playing in the inverted fullback role, as was under Postecoglou at times, and also playing more conventional left back. I think Greg Taylor actually has a lot of skills in the final third. Is a better defender than a lot of people give him credit for, and is very comfortable moving into midfield. And as was the case, his brilliant pass to Hatate set up our penalty and then our first goal. So big 10 out of 10 for O'Riley, Maeda, and Taylor. I think it was perfectly reasonable to give the man of the match to O'Riley. I thought, again, after the sending off, he really came to the fore. He managed to track back a lot more, helping out in midfield, helping out the defenders, supporting Taylor, Lagerbielke, Scales, etc. I thought that Celtic's three midfielders, Hatate, McGregor, O'Riley, played very well together. Thought the tighter formation that was used after the signing off worked very well for Celtic. Um, um, and O'Reilly still able to get himself forward into the box to score the second goal from that brilliant cross from Kyogo with a layoff by Dies and Maeda to O'Reilly breaking into the box for the second goal. So very impressed by Celtic's performance yesterday. I would give the players an immense amount of credit. I thought they played with an awful lot of spirit. Very well organised, very well captained by Callum McGregor. I thought he was everywhere as ever. Some very good tackles and very good passing, pleading his case and teammates' cases quite often with John Beaton, trying to get an explanation as to why there was no booking for Livingston players in that challenge on Scales and on Johnston. And I thought McGregor had one of his better games for Celtic this season. A lot of people have actually been giving Liam Scales a lot of praise. I thought personally in the first half he was rather shaky. He seemed to be getting players going past him, going over the top of him, a bit slow turning to cope with the ball going over his head for the Livingston players to run onto. But in the second half, he played, I thought, a lot better. And this is the third time that Lagerbielke and Scales have had a clean sheet together in games that they've started. And I think they are forming a very good partnership. I think in the long run, I personally would hope that Celtic use Lagerbielke more and more. I think he's going to be a very capable deputy for CCV and Narvrocky. And Lagerbielke also has the flexibility to be play at right back, which of course is one of the bonuses of having Liam Scales, is that he can cover central defence and left back, and also this gives Celtic a lot of options, particularly in the Champions League, where we may well struggle with injuries and suspensions to cover all the defensive positions. Given that Stephen Welsh is included in the squad, despite the fact that there's no possibility he'll be back by the end of the Champions League 6 matches. And so having that flexibility with players like Lagerbielke and Scales could well be important if we run into problems with Taylor or Johnston. A little bit of news cropping up overnight, and again, the news stories regarding the man on my t-shirt, Jota, do seem to vary from day to day and week to week. There seems to be a lot of confusion as to what exactly his status is at Al Ittihad. He does appear to be out of the squad and not eligible to play in any of the Saudi League matches, and that will be the case up until the January transfer window. there appears to be negotiations between Al Ittihad and Jota and Jota's agent as to what the options are, with possibility of him being released from his contract and becoming a free agent. To the best of my knowledge, under FIFA rules, he wouldn't be able to switch clubs, in that he already has had some games for Al Ittihad this season prior to the club going one over their foreign players quota, which has frozen him out. There appear strong rumours that Celtic and Jota's agent, and Al Ittihad are all negotiating the possibility of Jota coming back to Celtic. There may be some difficulties in terms of any fees to support a loan, and also coverage of Jota's wages, which obviously have gone up from around about 20,000 when he was playing at Celtic, up to what is reportedly £190,000 a week at Al Ittihad. So I think certainly the any kind of payment related to the loan and any wages demands share with Al Ittihad would have to be negotiated. Also, is stated that Ange Postecoglou is exploring all the options of getting Jota to Spurs sooner than that, or at least in the January transfer window. And slightly confusing. Some of the news stories linking Jota going to Spurs imply that Jota would go to Spurs now, rather than having to wait to January. But the news stories regarding Jota coming to Celtic seem to all indicate that he can't come to any club until after the winter transfer window opens. So I think we'll need to see what happens with that. And as I said earlier, the news stories seem to vary from day to day as to what is or isn't possible in terms of Jota's future and whether he can move now or later to a new club on loan or as a free agent. Celtic don't have any midweek matches this week, and so it does give them a chance to get over any minor knocks from yesterday's game. Also gives them a chance to firm up the partnerships, and I do hope that at the next game against Motherwell we don't go back to using James Forrest as our wide right player, and I really do hope that Brendan Rodgers gives either Yang or Luis Palma a proper go playing in the wide right position, so that they can get themselves fitted into the team. I would prefer to go with Luis Palma, who was very successful in his 18 months in Greek football, with a high number of goals and a high number of chances created, and also is extremely good at dead balls, free kicks, and also is now the Honduras international team penalty taker as well. So I think all these are important things to indicate why we should give Luis Palma a proper chance to get into the team. And as has been the case with Lagerbielke, for example, and for Scales, now that they're into the team, had a few games, they're looking more and more secure and looking better and better players. So that just about finishes things off for today. Please do, if you can, click the like button for this video, click the subscribe button for this channel, and do have a wee go at the Celtic related trivia question that's in the community section. So for today, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, goodbye, and hail, hail.
Yeah.